Got it? Good. So when should you use the present perfect tense? Well, when there is a connection between the present and the past. Think of it like a bridge that's connecting the present and the past. For example, when something started in the past and continues in the present. They've been married for 3 years. You can use it to talk about an activity that you've done several times in the past and that you continue to do now. She has read many books and she'll probably read more. You can also use the present perfect to talk about life experience. He hasn't traveled overseas before. Now, before I give you some more examples, let's talk about when to use the past simple tense and the present perfect tense, because this is often the confusing part about this tense. To answer this question, you need to think about time. Finished time and unfinished time. So think about last week. That's a good example of finished time. Last week is finished, it's over. But what about this week? Is this week finished? No, not yet. That's an example of unfinished time. There's still more of this week to come. It's not finished yet. Yesterday, last week, last month, last year, 1991, these are all examples of finished time, time that is complete. When you're talking about a time period that has finished, like these, you need to use the past simple. But when you're talking about a time period that is unfinished, like today, this week, this year, this month, use the present perfect tense. So let's compare some examples. Last month, I visited my brother 3 times. This month, I have visited my brother twice. But the month isn't finished yet and I may visit him again. Try an example with me. He borrowed my car yesterday. So this sentence is in the past simple. It's finished time. Now try to change it to the present perfect yourself. What do you need to do? 2 things. You need to add the auxiliary verb. He has, not have. It changes because our subject is he. He has borrowed my car today or this week. We need to change the time expression too for our sentence to work in the present perfect tense. It must be unfinished time. Okay, so those were all examples of the present perfect in positive sentences. But what about negative forms? Of course, we need to add not to our sentence, to our structure. Subject plus have or has plus not, and then our past participle verb. So compare these sentences. Last month, I visited my brother 3 times. This month, I haven't visited him at all. But the month isn't over yet. I may still visit him. Again, see that this structure is usually contracted in spoken English. Haven't. This is the most common way to contract the negative form, but you may also hear people say, I've not visited him. Both ways are acceptable, but you can't contract all 3 words together. I'ven't. You can't do that. It's one contraction or the other. Another example. He ate so much yesterday. Notice the time word that we're using. So in present perfect, negative, we can say he hasn't eaten a lot today. But there's still more day, so he could eat more food. One more example. They were at school yesterday. In the present perfect, they haven't been at school all morning. But the day's not finished yet and they may arrive in the afternoon. Of course, you need to ask present perfect questions too, right? As with all English question forms, our auxiliary verb needs to change position. So we have and has, our subject, and our past participle verb. Has he cleaned the bathroom? Have you eaten enough? Has it rained today? Have they finished yet? Now compare these two questions. Did you go to Thailand last year? This is a past simple question, so the auxiliary verb do takes the tense. It becomes did. But now compare it to have you been to Thailand? This means at any time in the past. It's your life experience. But of course, you're still alive, so you may go in the future. The difference is the time reference. There is a lot to think about when using the present perfect tense, right? But I hope that this lesson made everything a little easier, especially the basics. If you're clear on the basics, it's a good thing.
After watching the video, now can you answer these questions? I hope that you can. Open your student's book page 32 and choose the correct option in the activity number 1 of use of English present perfect. We will further discuss the answers in the live session. Here are your post-lesson tasks as known as your homework 0903. After watching the video, I hope that you have understood present perfect tense. Now it's your time to do the activities in your student's book and your workbook and submit me on Moodle in order to get your grades. It's time to wrap up the lesson. Write 2 things you learned from today's lesson in the forum activity on Moodle. Also, if you have any questions or difficulties in understanding anything from this part of the video lesson, please post it on forum so that I can get back to you. So that was it for this lesson. In the next lesson, you'll learn to write an opinion essay whether school is important or not. So I'll see you in the next lesson. Till then, take care and Allah Hafiz.